Hey everyone, Kyle here. I'm really excited to announce that we are taking the Furious the Curious show live. On Saturday, September 27th, I'll be sitting down with Colonel Trey Ardis. He's a retired U.S. Marine. He flew in F-18s, he was in the Special Forces, and he'll be joining us for an evening of conversation on lessons for leadership and life.
Or give somebody a bunch of money and a bunch of power, and you'll see who they really are. I have a little over 2,000 hours in F-18, a couple of hundred combat missions, got some Valor Awards and stuff along the way. We're just doing our job like everybody else. If biblical masculinity is meek, Jesus was meek. Meek doesn't mean weak.
Yeah.
Meek means power under control. That's what a man needs to be.
And so we'll do a live podcast together with a live audience Q&A afterwards. So it'll be a great night, 7 p.m. on September 27th. Check out the link in this post to grab your tickets, and I'll see you there. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Furious the Curious show. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn, a series of the Furious the Curious show, where we talk about business, life, Christianity, and more. Episode 61. It is September 11th.
9/11.
9/11. Where were you 9/11? You remember where you were?
Yeah.
Where were you?
Yeah, in the living room in our house, right before school started. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we watched TV ever at our house in the morning, but...
You had a TV growing up?
Just at the later years.
Okay.
Not until probably high school.
Okay.
But fascinating. That's actually an interesting conversation. It's interesting how people change, right? People's perceptions of things change. Even my parents, their views on TV and stuff. But anyways, yeah, I remember seeing it, the second plane crash, right?
Okay. I was on the bus heading to school. I was in grade 5. Got to school, a whole bunch of our kids in our class were American, so they didn't show up, of course. Borders were closed. And then at nighttime, I remember we had a screen at home, but no cable or anything. But if you put a wire in the back, you could get CBC.
Yeah. The rabbit ears.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Yeah, really. And it's interesting because, my age and your age would even be more because you're younger than I am. Like, I never had really flown. I think I'd flown once before that in my life. And probably in grade 11, I went on to Holland, and I went on a missions trip to Mexico. And I think that for those that flew lots, older people, I think it totally changed flying and transport.
Okay.
And
my dad was flying all the time.
Okay, he would have been back to Europe and all over
America. He preached 12 Sundays a year. He preached at a different church.
Brutal.
Yeah, so he was gone always 12 weekends a year. I think, did you know he preached for over 20 years straight without taking a Sunday off? At least 2 sermons every Sunday, sometimes 3.
That's a badge of honor right there if you're a workaholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say that as someone who...
he has pictures of him on the Twin Towers. That's what reminded me of it, because in New Jersey, there's an NRC church.
Okay, so he would have preached near there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really crazy, right? Really crazy. I think that people just unsuspecting that. Yeah. And so coordinated, right?
And now the amount of evidence that's out there, and this is definitely a conspiracy theory.
We're veering fast.
That this is a government inside job. There's a lot. You start going down that rabbit hole. It's just there's questions that doesn't make sense.
More questions than answers.
Yeah. Anyways, Freedom Session starts tonight, or the Info Night. Info Night's tonight, right? You going?
Well, yeah. I mean, by the time this comes out, there will be your first session. So on that note, tomorrow night, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, tomorrow night, you could still come.
Yeah.
Week 1, there'll be a form for you to fill out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people signed up so far.
I decided not to do it anymore.
Okay.
Felt like I did it 3 years in a row straight, and Nicole's doing it this year. I just took a year off. And
take a year off from getting better. That's weird.
Hey, you didn't do the work last year.
I always do the work. I always wrestle. It's funny. I just went out for lunch with
you. Actually do the work?
Listen.
Okay.
The principles that you've learned, you implement daily, and the forgiveness exercises and the things that are really challenging.
Fair enough.
It's like, obviously there's people that have never done freedom sessions that are doing a lot of this stuff anyways. But it's, Marie and I were just talking about that, how it's like, man, especially when you're going to preach it, you're going to stand in front of people and proclaim, you better be prepared to, at least obviously going to fail miserably, but at least try to.
But you from the even last year.
It's not near the amount of work and it's not even as if you facilitate. It's not near the amount of work that it is.
Yeah, because you're not facilitating either anymore, right?
I wasn't last year. This year, I think I might even have to because there's a lot of people signed up. There's like 55 people signed up already for the info night.
Okay, I thought you had enough guys,
and we have
but
less
not.
Facilitators.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So.
Okay. You got anything you want to talk about?
Lots of stuff.
Huge
lots
list.
of stuff. I could talk about all kinds of stuff. Did I put the real estate market update on there? I never put it on there. We never talk about real estate. I'm a realtor.
What about Charlie Kirk? You don't want to talk about that?
Oh, we can talk about that. I actually, all the people that listen to this, a lot of them follow Charlie Kirk really closely, and his organization. I was not well versed at all. So super tragic. Now this will come out a week after. I was at the border crossing cows, and I was on Twitter waiting for the vet to show up, and I'm like, wow. And then I didn't do any homework until today, actually, because I thought we might talk about it. And then I listened to, and I have the clip, and it'd be a clip worth listening to. It's a very interesting clip. Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick McDavid.
Yeah. I'm assuming he's a Christian.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he a Christian nationalist?
Depends how you define that.
Okay.
But I would say in probably the same way that Charlie Kirk was. But Charlie Kirk also switched quite a bit. Like, so he wasn't a Christian when he started Turning Point USA. And he actually
a young guy.
As a young guy, he was actually thought that Christian conservatism actually was a hindrance to the movement of conservatism growing in the United States.
Which is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in later years he came to faith, and it actually started massively influencing and going into his content and at universities and stuff like that too, where really started promoting that's ultimately what he lived for. Yeah. And
I think the thing that bothers me, and this is just or bothers me, a strong word, but I guess I wonder, like, we tend to like really galvanize around certain moments. And obviously this is like a public thing, and you and Matt talk about it on your podcast, just getting into it. So I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I feel like, man, there's a lot of injustice. And I posted a clip, and it's an awful, awful story. I wouldn't even read it on here in case somebody had their kids with them, but like of a little 8-year-old that was abused by her mother until she died a few days later. And then they tried to hide the body, put it in a bag in Edmonton recently. And the reason I posted it was it was just interesting because, well, first of all, we're foster parents. And so we're dealing with, we're hearing of these things, and that's not an isolated case. Like, it does happen. It happens here too. Yeah. It never goes public because you wear first of all, there's just the privacy issues around the family and the kids don't, whatever. There's those things that the children need to be protected from. But then also every organization, because of litigation and because of lawsuits and because of the way people, like, it's fascinating how, our whole childhood, we're like, hey, you're taught to be like, hey, just own your wrongs and make things right. And, like we say to our kids, like, no matter what you do, just say you did it. Like, the consequences, the worst thing you can do is become a deceptive, dishonest person.
Lie,
right? Yeah. It's just a disaster.
Actually, yesterday, Peter did something wrong. He broke something, and I asked him if he did it, and he's like, yeah, I did it. And a couple of minutes later, he was like, I wasn't like Eve, Dad. Like, blaming.
Oh, I see. Just owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you get, like, in a government situation, especially where, somebody has to take the fall, but, there's all this issue around, like, court cases and stuff where things can't be shared. Things just don't typically even come to light sometimes, like really awful things. That's
the majority of things don't come to light.
Fair enough. That's a fair statement. The majority, and it's like, hey, we can't live in, and that's part of the problem with social media and the way that we consume information now. Like, horrible things, like, finished reading through Ecclesiastes. Horrible. There's nothing new under the sun. Horrible things have happened since the beginning of time. And because of the way we live and consume information on our phone, we're way too in touch, especially with the tragic things, because the tragic things are clickable things, right? And so,
but I think it also
brings
into reality what's already there, right? Like, the fact is, this is a super broken world, and we're just seeing more of it more clearly now, and it's something we actively resist to, like, face. I'm doing a freedom session remotely with a guy right now, and just going through the different chapters, and the one is closet inventory, which is, of course, like, not taking any secrets to the grave, and just talking about them openly. And so I shared some of the things that I had done as a kid and in older years that I feel the most shame around, and I was I think it's important to share those things, because then we can it forces us to face who we actually are and what we're capable of. And we try never to think about those things anymore and bury them as deep as possible. But that's also society as a whole. We don't actually want to admit that it is as bad as it actually is, right? Like we resist, like even like, a couple of years ago, there was that movie that came out against sex trafficking and stuff like that. Like I can't go watch it. Trevor always gives me crap that I should just go watch it and face it, but I'm just like, I can't. That's the reality. Like it is desperately broken and wicked world, and desperately needed of Jesus. And I've just been praying, especially in the last couple of days, or the last days, like, come, Jesus, come quickly, like redeem this world, like come back, because it is, man, it's bad out there.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. So interestingly enough, in that case, it was in Edmonton, where the child was killed, and then they eventually lowered the plea. They did a plea deal, and it went public now. A plea deal to manslaughter, which I think the most jail time the person would face is 8 years. And the Edmonton Police Union or Force or whatever the body is that was, working on this case, they went public frustrated, which of course never happens. And they are actually shamed now after their press conference they did. The Crown went public and started shaming them and say, hey, like this is not proper protocol. We're supposed to be independent. You're supposed to let us do our job. We know the facts of the case. We want to lay the toughest charges we can while still getting a conviction, which there's truth to that. But then I would answer to that, hey, our justice system is just broken. Beyond broken. And so it's interesting. I saw the lady that did the press conference, and I just sent her an email last night, some police lady in Edmonton. And interestingly enough, she sent me an email thanking back this morning. But I think that's the role that we as Christians can humbly, quietly do, is just encourage good things, stand for truth in our own lives. Not all of us are going to stand in front of a podium in front of thousands of people speaking truth and take the bullet. But like most of us aren't even prepared to like be shamed a little bit in our own backyard.
Yes, exactly.
By somebody thinking, hey, these people are, and it doesn't need to be shaming. It can be just, we can do a lot with love and just being winsome and being kind, but also like stand for truth. And I guess where I was going when I talked about the amount of content being talked about in relation to this horrible assassination, it's like, hey, I look at it, and I read an article from Jonathan Van Maren today. A lot of people would be familiar with his stuff. Great writer, gifted writer. And he talks just even about like abortion, how Charlie Kirk was fighting for that too. But like most of us are not that fired up about the fact that millions of babies are being murdered. And there again, it's secretive, it's quiet. Nobody's posting on the social media that they're doing it, but we all know it's happening. It's something really tragic. People probably listening to this have had an abortion, and just like all of our sins, it's things that we do wrong. They can be forgiven, right? Yeah. There's lots of grace there, but I think it's just that idea of like we pick our things, we get fired up, and I think we as Christians, I look at it very holistically and think, hey, is there areas where we are, where we probably should just be taking a bit of a more serious look about the ways that we in our own lives can influence change, right? Rather than hanging our hat or our hope on, some well-known famous person. Like we all have a responsibility to be outspoken is maybe not the right way to say it, but you know what I mean, right? Just take a stand for truth. And are we doing
we should hang our hope on Christ. We should deal with our own crap first. I mean, that's how we're going to influence people the most, right? Like
that's what Patrick said really well. It's an 11-minute clip.
Okay. I don't know. I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, it's worth listening to. I thought it was really well said, where it's like, we're not going to lose the war. Like the war, like ultimately
Jesus won.
He won. So it's over, and we have a victory. And I think that we often fight from the idea of, then start to worry that, God's losing. No.
Yeah. But also, I mean, Satan is the ruler of this world still, right? Yeah. And we fight against not principalities and powers, but powers of the unseen world. Like that, there's that. Like it's a battle, but we can fight with hope. And it's a lot better than fighting for just conservative values by themselves, right? That's ultimately gonna, it's like people that have they become friends with the ChatGPT a person. Ultimately, it's just going to feed you what you want. And what do we ultimately want is self-glorification, comfort. Like we're going to get more of ourselves, and eventually it's going to it's not going to be good.
No, it's going to be good.
And that's why we need the mirror of Scripture to just say, hey, this is actually who you are, and this is what you need. Yeah. And work on ourselves first. Like, how do we have the biggest impact on our kids? We want nice, gentle kids. We got to be nice and gentle. Mm-hmm. It's not by just telling people. It's like us, acting it.
Yeah. Did you see that Russia was sending, there was like drones or something or missiles going into Poland? Did you see anything about that?
I did see a headline of something.
Okay, didn't read it. Okay.
Okay, we've got a mailbag question.
Oh.
I have a question for you and Gary on the podcast. I was just listening to when you were talking about the foreign workers program and kids having after-school jobs. What are your thoughts on what I feel is like a recent trend where kids are involved in sports to the point where it's interfering with their work? For example, having to ask for multiple days off in a month and attend their sports activities. Is this a failure of the parents allowing their sports to take present over work, or is it a sign of a broader societal trend away from having kids to do some good, honest work and be committed to their jobs? It has always been, it has come up for us as an employer when our high school age employee who was just hired specifically for weekends is asking time off and we can't always find coverage. My response is to say, sorry, I can't give you that time off. But my partner takes a little bit more personally and feels stressed out trying to find someone to replace him. I mean, I think for that specifically, if you need to hire someone, make it very clear what your expectations are. If you expect them to work 4 weekends a month and not take time off, make that clear. Otherwise, you have to hire someone else. And if you the employee also has to make it clear, like, hey, I need 2 weekends off a week for sports things. But the foreign workers thing, I think, is interesting.
It's gaining steam, not losing steam. It's fascinating.
Well, I didn't know when we recorded on it last week that it was actually Rebel News that asked Paulie this question in the news conference, and they were mainly referring to like the Tim Hortons and the fast food chains being full of people.
So I have an anecdotal story about that, and this will be for people that are local here in Chilliwack, specifically Popcom, Rosedale. If you remember 21, and this, I'm going to offend somebody with this because there's going to be somebody listening who worked there and is going to just be pissed at my criticism. But if you went to that Tim Hortons at the roundabout in Popcom in 2020-21 during the Rona, I mean, you could wait half an hour. Like, I'm serious. It was like not fast food. Like, you could literally brew coffee at home, bring it to all your neighbors, serve the whole neighborhood, and then still go to where you're going quicker than waiting in that lineup. And now it is full of people that are not, and now you're going to give me in a color code again, but white young Dutch kids from Rosedale or whatever. Like, it's not whoever. I don't even know who was working there, but I'm just telling you. Blue elves, whatever. Different people working there now, let's say that. Didn't check their immigration status. But they pound the people through there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I had another listener send a message to me and says, my 18-year-old son is trying to find a low-skilled job at a tire shop at our oil change place, food fast, and they can't. They're all like by either immigrants or foreign workers, and she didn't know what they were. But obviously, I think you put the note in here, unemployment is the highest it's been in almost 10 years.
Yeah, that's why we're getting rate cuts. That was tied into the whole mortgage/real estate conversation. But the problem is, and you could identify with this. There's people that say, hey, they're in the camp when the government calls them for a census and they ask them a question, right? Statistics Canada, yeah, I'm looking for work. Yeah. But like, they're a lazy person looking for a $35-$40 an hour job, and they don't want to work on a Saturday or Sunday, and they don't want to work at night, and they don't want, you know what I mean? Like, they have all these criteria. So like, is it, hey, the job's not there, or not the job I'm willing to do for the money that's offered?
Okay, but
fair?
Let's say there's no foreign workers to fill these jobs.
Oh, then it's a disaster.
Well, let's say, okay, so you deal in the half-hour lineups. Eventually, you're going to hire a robot to make most of the coffees. You're going to need to have 2 employees in the Tim Hortons.
Trust me, they all are robots already.
And then you can pay $40 an hour to the 1 or 2 people.
No, I don't think that I just don't think we're there as a society. That would be the argument. That was the argument that Pierre Poilievre is having. I'm pretty sure that the BC NDP went against that policy and was, I think, provincially pushing for the foreign worker program. There's just a swath of work that gets done that, like, okay, let me turn it around this way. Hey, yes, we're going to have all the people that, go out in the field and hoe the vegetables and pick up fruit, and people that work at these places get paid $40 an hour. Is everybody willing to pay even more and have more inflation? No, they're not. Right?
No, I don't think that's the solution.
That's the natural solution. You want to pay people more, you charge more. You look at our mechanic shop, everybody wants a raise. Guess what happens? The shop rate goes up in the shop. Like, it's all connected. So the idea of like having one thing and not the other, like, no. And even though it's fun, like, so there again, it's such a polarizing political ploy by Pierre, but it's the idea of like, hey, give people our jobs. I don't know a lot of people, like basically almost nobody, that's 30, 40, 50 years old. That's a phenomenal worker that's sitting at home, not working, saying, hey, I can't find work somewhere. That would be my response. Now, granted, I mean, I'm in one small area of the country and I don't know that many people, but it's just like this idea of like, no, I think that we're entering into a period where businesses are laying people off, and the free market will naturally sort itself out. And I mean, should there be a limit on how many immigrants come in from other countries to work at a reduced wage? Maybe. The other argument I was going to say, and this is actually the most important part from my perspective as someone that has 2 foreign workers working in one of his businesses, and I have lots of other businesses where we don't have that, and I wouldn't even want that.
Yeah.
But they're not even that cheap. Like if you look at, like, they get free housing. Well, if you get free housing plus minimum wage in, which is, I think is $18 or $19 an hour now, somewhere in there, right? Which to me, as someone, I'm not that old, but I remember when minimum wage was, I think, $6 or $7 an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's just not cheap employment. Like, you're not getting a worker really cheap when they're getting a free living accommodations, right? And then of course other things on top of that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how. I think it's a pretty divided issue, and I think that.
Well, I think that's also we're dealing probably with a lot of symptoms of a bigger issue in terms of government mismanagement when it comes to regulation and
or even the
taxes and everything else like that, which is, and then
money printing.
Yeah, money printing. And the trickle down effect of that is more problems like this, where just like an employer is like, well, I can't hire at $30 an hour. For me to like keep the stuff I need to pay $15 or $20 an hour, and because everything else is higher, and so it's also a little bit of a. I think we need to go back to way smaller government and way less regulation.
Way
like
less overhead.
Carney's like announcing a new pipeline. He wants to do a new pipeline, and no one's coming forward to take the job. Well, because
no, he changed his mind. Now there was no new pipelines.
Oh,
he
really?
said he was going to, and then no, totally an about face.
Okay, I read today that they couldn't find anybody to do it. Either way, I mean, like the non-regulation is just insane, right? Like it's you can't. It's so hard to do things. Even I notice it myself, like and running a small business, and the amount of taxes I need to pay, and the crap I need to do. It's just like, what am I doing?
Why not just go work for someone else?
Yeah.
No, and that is a problem. When you start to have people that are super motivated and have the desire to really push and hire people and do things, and that you take away their motivation, you as a society are running into deep problems.
Yeah.
But the issue is, and I mean, federally, I know that under Trudeau's leadership in 10 years, the federal workforce went up by 40%. And as we would all agree, the efficiency of government agencies did not increase by 40% in that time. You just create a whole bunch more people that vote for a certain party and vote a certain way. And it's very problematic, right? And then, of course, when you're an employee, like, even if you have got lots of raises in the last 2 years, this is why people, when the money was being printed in 2020, 21, 22 and given away, nobody was pushing back because the way that inflation works, it's like a snowball, and it takes a long time before, like, it's still playing itself out now, while in the worst possible time, when of course, interest rates are higher and people are losing their jobs, you still go to the truck dealership and they warn you, the next one's going to be more, and you go to the tractor dealership and the new models of tractors and more, like, you're still seeing it.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the worst possible thing, but nobody complained in the moment because there was helicopter money and people were getting $2,000 a month and they were getting this and that. And it's like, no, like,
how much of you think is also greed, like, versus it used to be there where you were produced something and you just made 20 points on it and 30 points on it. And now people want to make like...
No. There's very few people making fat margin. If I look at the new business that I started, it is pitiful margin. Like, I thought it was way better, and it's just the gross margin is like 8, 9, 10%. Gross margin, not net. So, like, what are you doing it for, right? Like, you have to build a monster in order to be successful.
Okay, so
that's what I'm working on. I'm going as hard as I can. It hasn't happened yet, but fueled by rage and anger.
Noah's mirror inventory 20 years from now.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, it's so bad. But you know what I say, right? If you want sympathy, you can find it right between shit and syphilis in the dictionary.
So how you treat yourself too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back to...
consistent. We didn't answer the question.
Which question?
The question that the listener asked.
What to do?
About the kid that's asking off for sports. I think you said it pretty well.
That's my answer. It's just like set really clear expectations. It's like anything.
Hey, we're not a sports business. Like, we don't appreciate sports. We don't appreciate you playing sports on the weekend. We're hiring you to work.
Yeah. So then if that's a clear upfront.
It's fascinating. It's a family thing, right?
Yeah.
It's actually interesting because we had our school open house at Cascade, and we're like, our school does sports, but like very casually, and we don't have a phenomenal sports program, let's say. There's kids that are great at it, but it's just whatever. And in our family, like, we're not a big sports family. Like, we're fine with our kids do a little few things, but we're never going to like shut down the whole family program for the weekend to go do sports. Eh?
Well, I think it's just communication. If I say to Nicole, hey, we're hanging out on Saturday, right? And she goes, yes. And I'm thinking it's for breakfast, and she thinks it's for dinner. And we come to Saturday and we're pissed off because we're like, what do you mean? We talked about this. Well, no, we didn't make it clear expectation. Like, be really clear about what your expectations are. I mean, that's why it's good to have job descriptions and things like that, because, then, KPIs, key performance indicators, if you have employers, like, you have something to measure against, something And if you have none of that and everything's obscure, then yeah, it's going to be way harder. So I would just say make things really clear up front, and then you should be okay. Because then if the guy's always taking off saying, hey, this isn't what we agreed on, you don't have a job anymore, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's families that their whole life revolves around sports, and there's other people that their kids are playing a sport one time on on Saturday or something, and that's accepted. I mean, I guess I look at it like sports are super healthy too. And I think even the expectation when I was a kid, we started work, I think in our family, it was kind of expected by 12 or 13 that you'd be working every day after school. Well, I don't think that's the expectation now of a lot of families. There's lots of families that do, but there again, that's going to really differ from family to family, with the maturity of the kid, where they work and live in relation to where the work is, all these things, right? Yeah.
So, and it's not like there's like a Bible answer to that.
There's no black and white.
No, it's just like every person's values are a little bit different.
But it is interesting. It ties into another a comment that I put in the show notes, but it's like the idea of kicking your kids out when they're in their early 20s. It all ties in. It's another thing that Marie and I talked about today.
Taking your kids out or kicking them out?
Oh, okay. Them out of the house.
Yeah, the notice, kick your young adults out.
Young adults, kick them out. Lots of young adults in my life that live at home, right? They're all somewhat entitled, right? Like, they don't think they are because they love their parents and appreciate whatever. They say they appreciate it, but as in all things in life, you never really appreciate what you have until it's gone to some degree. It's hard to you have to know the difference, right? And I think that,
like, sitting down, it is amazing. It's like almost
totally,
weeks now, and I'm literally think about it a lot.
Just pumped to go sit down again.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. But just the idea of like, hey, if you start your kids working when they're really little, right? Little things, like just little chores, and you have that expectation of, hey, this is what you do. As part of our family, you empty the dishwasher, and Marie's phenomenal at it. Like, she's got these kids, we got a chore sheet. Then we have another sheet where it's like, hey, these are the money. You actually want to make money? These are the things you got to do, right? Yeah. And just setting up this healthy, not big deal, but just little things where you're over the years, you're kind of like, hey.
But I think that's different than kicking your kids out at a certain age, because
no, it's all part of it. It's part of the journey of teaching someone to be an adult and be responsible.
But you can still work really hard and live at home. Like, if you think a different,
you better be paying a lot of rent then. Trust me, I have this discussion with parents all the time.
But you don't think it's cultural if you think of like the East Indians and they all live in one huge house together, and like I'm not advocating we do that. It wouldn't work.
No, we are doing it. It's a problem.
Wouldn't work for me.
We are doing it. I'm going to get
my. But like, there's different cultures that do things differently. Like, I think it's important to teach your kids at work, but
you need to kick them out of the house.
At what
Teach
age?
them to be young. Younger the better. Younger the better. I mean, I was kicked out, like, not by my choice, really young because of my behavior, but that's a whole nother story, just a disaster. But like, even that experience, like, just learn to.
Yeah. I mean, I think
listen, everybody looks back and they look at even at other cultures, and they think of, or they look back. For me, I'm reading the Bible, looking at like the 12-year-old who was king, and I'm thinking, okay, like, how far are we fallen, right? Like, this guy can't even, pay his phone bill on time, and he's 25, right? But just like, it's because we've lowered the bar, and we've gotten into the space where it's like, no, like, set the standard. And there again, every child's different. Children have challenge. I get all that, right? In our home, there are going to be kids that have totally different expectations, right? Yeah. But I just think this idea of like, 24 years old and, they're barely paying rent, or they're paying $300 a month. They're just not. And then there's conflict. So if there's no conflict and everybody's living in harmony, hey, fair enough. Yeah. But I just think teach someone. They're going to be more motivated to, work harder. They're going to be more motivated to better themselves. Like, there's just a lot. If you're living almost for free, it's like, well, what motivation do you have to go from,
Yeah, you have to have that motivation. Yeah. And there's, we have to teach our kids these things. Like, they're not going to happen by themselves. There's a really good book I'm reading called Raising a Modern Day Knight, a father's role in guiding his son to authentic manhood. And it takes like basically in the medieval ages, the different ways someone became a man and the stages of like, you had to go work with a knight for a while, then you had to go do this.
Eventually they probably just stabbed him. Get on a
But they
horse
graduated
and
basically to
impale
different levels of like, now you're a man, and now basically there's like very little that very not very much intentionality at all behind it. But we gotta prepare our kids for the world. I was explaining to my boys at supper time the other day about, get ready for there's going to be many trials and sorrows in this world, but take heart because Jesus has overcome the world. I was like, you guys are going to be growing up, and like it's hard out there, like, and you need to be ready to stand for your faith, and you need to be ready to defend these things. And it's not good, but this isn't home, this isn't our world, and stuff like that. We just got to and to get them ready to be faithful and to show up with intentionality. But it doesn't just happen, right? Like, you need to put, just like building a business, you want to go build a monster, like it takes effort, right? Like a lot of work. And so you want to build a monster of a family or a kid, stuff like that. Like, if you want to parallel, it's you gotta train. Yeah. And when we haven't been trained ourselves necessarily on these things, it's even
difficult.
harder.
It is difficult. Yeah. And you'll be told 1,000 different things, right? If we're relying on culture or even just other people all the time.
Yeah. We're like
right?
a podcast.
A podcast. Yeah. Get fed all kinds of ridiculousness.
Disaster.
Do you disagree with me about getting your kids out of the house and living on their own?
I would hope that I would be able to raise my boys in a way where they would want to.
Want to what?
Leave the house.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And go conquer something.
No, people, our human nature is to be lazy.
That's a human nature. But if you're training
right?
and set expectations from a young age of like, hey, what are you going to go do? Like, start thinking about these things. You're praying with them at 12 about it. Like, God, lead me in the right direction, right? And stuff like that. Yes, we're still going to be inclinations and stuff like that. So I guess I agree with it in terms of how do you go about it? Does that mean all of a sudden when they're 20 years old, like you're out and there's no help? Like, what does it?
That's a great idea.
Like, what does it look like? And yeah.
Lots of our kids already tell us that they're going to live with us for a very long time, right? So maybe that's why I feel like this. I'm like, oh boy.
You want your freedom back?
Well, there'll never be that. It's more just the idea of like, yeah, they got to think about, hey, what does it mean to be an adult and be responsible?
Okay, so there's another note in here that's related to this. Were we better off than 50 years ago? Are we better off today than we were 50 years ago? Is Gen Z's reluctance to move away from their birthplace a factor in the housing crisis?
There's no housing crisis. First clarification. Like, that's just totally government made up.
What do you mean there's no housing crisis?
There's no housing crisis. Like,
define a housing crisis.
People, when they say housing crisis, they think lack of affordable housing in Canada.
Yeah.
That's what they think of. That the actual answer to that is back to what we talked about earlier. And people don't understand this. It's worth learning. Like, it's worth learning and understanding money supply, M2 money supply. It's worth learning things about the amount of like dollars that are created. It's the devaluation of our fiat currencies.
Yeah, go watch my episode with Mark Vanort on Bitcoin, and he explains what money is and the definition of money. And basically, like back in the day when in Africa they used beads as their exchange. That was their money that they exchanged things with. And then all of a sudden the slave traders came with bags and bags of beads, and everyone's super excited, and all of a sudden realized that like now your bread isn't worth 2 beads anymore. Now it's 500 beads.
Yeah. So that is exactly what has happened with our houses. And so like there's houses available, but what about, they're just not affordable, but they're not affordable because of inflation. Right? So
there's enough houses.
There's enough houses
for people. Isn't there? It isn't part of the issue amount of immigrants that have come in.
Of course, that will sort itself out very quickly when they turn the supply off, and you can see that there is serious, like the immigration tap will be turned off, and there's a lot of the wrong product for people. So like if you look in Toronto, for example, there's I think 8 months worth of supply at least of condos for sale. Well, they're just awful. Like if you went and looked at the design and did a bit of studying, you'd be like, nobody's going to live in that. There's a term that, people like Ron Butler use, the dog crate condo. They're tiny. They're like 350, 380 square feet, weird shapes, no natural light, right? Like, of course, no one wants to live in that. But even in BC, like, and another realtor shared it the other day, there's a cancellation of a project by a very well-known developer. Like, nothing financially is working out now, right? So businesses are like, hey, they sold 60% of a building in Vancouver or near Vancouver. And then they just canceled the whole project and are going to give everybody their deposit back because it just doesn't work financially, right? Okay,
so what do you do? What do you do with people who can't afford a home now?
They're going to move away. You can move away. You can move, like there's houses for sale, I want to say in Saskatchewan for under $100,000.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
I mean, you're living in the middle of nowhere, but hey. And I feel like a hypocrite in this conversation. I don't like this conversation because I've always felt a niggling in my heart that like, hey, if I wanted to really do my family, my children a favor, and our forefathers did it for us coming from Holland to here and other countries, right? Like European immigrants and whatever, I feel like we should be doing a favor and moving somewhere else.
I think about it a lot.
Yeah, but you just want to move to where people think the same way as you, right? Like
No.
somewhere in the deep south, right?
No, I mean, a huge part is affordability.
Fair enough.
Like I was saying earlier, running a small business up here, and the amount of taxes you have to pay, and the different things you're dealing with. Just
Okay,
like
so there's a guy I follow on Twitter now, and he moved to Ecuador. Very interesting.
Yeah, I was looking at Belize.
Very affordable. Yeah.
And what about how, like a lot of someone said, actually I talked to last week said it's how to accomplish something. Lots of young people feel hopeless. Affordability, lending to make buying a house happen. Is there a way to make it happen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because this guy explained that he had bought a farm one day, and he got help to buy the farm,
Yeah.
or the guy gave money off. And what does that look like now, practically? Should we be doing that? Should we be helping?
There are people that will help and I guess I look at it like even in the hardest of circumstances, there's opportunity for people that are looking for them and that are motivated, right? And I would say that in our society today, the bulk of the culture is very lazy and very entitled. So theoretically, if you're in the higher percentile of motivated, you should be fine. It's just that the expectation, like especially younger generations, they value things like weekends off, and people live for weekends. There's people that walk alongside me in my life, and they're just like pumped for like looking forward to the weekend. I've never,
You still never do that.
I've never looked forward to the weekend in my life. The other thing is young people, I've been learning this from mortgage brokers and even just kids I'm hanging out with, they get vehicle payments. And I'm like, there's nothing worse for your future than getting a vehicle payment at a young age. Like, it's just not necessary. Just buy a cheap, reasonably quality vehicle that gets you from A to B. But there again, there's the pressure to have a nice truck or a nice car. I totally get it.
Image.
I totally get it. I'm just saying that will kill you when you try to go buy a house.
Yeah. But also, I mean, we are comparing to what the previous generation has in terms of housing and stuff like that, what they're able to buy. And so we have that same expectation, but most of the world do live in apartments.
Yeah, and that's where you're going to start here. And I would agree. I don't like that idea, right? And I feel like,
especially as Christians, this isn't our home. Like, this isn't like where we're supposed to like make everything perfect.
No, but you don't want to live in a dog crate condo in the meantime.
No, you don't. I'm not saying I'm not saying that it's easy or that I want to do it. Like, I'm thankful I get to like rent a place. I do. It's a beautiful place in the country. And that's not, it could be way different. And it would be hard otherwise, but you don't know, what God's going to do with that, right? Like, usually hard times, definitely my own experience, have taught me a lot. And I've gained a lot from it. Like, just being comfortable and getting what you want, what does that do for you?
Yeah. That was the theme of our last podcast, was struggling. Struggling was a good thing. Somebody sent me a screenshot of everything that we said, and it was pretty funny. It was just like, oh.
Actually, it's funny how you started that podcast. And so someone reached out and listens and says, it was actually Gary introduced you guys the right way, because he said Kyle and I, and apparently I always say it wrong. But then he went back and said, no, it wasn't.
This is the grammar police here.
Grammar police.
I love it.
Yeah. So I told them Mr.
They cannot help themselves either. The grammar police cannot help themselves. People in family like that.
Okay, death penalty.
Oh, we're back there again.
Back to death penalty, because someone had heard us talk about it, how I said I wasn't sure about it anymore. And you said your mom had challenged you on it. And so they sent in a question that says, so previously on your podcast, you talked about the death sentence. You were not for it, which isn't the case. I said I wasn't sure. But the question is, do you change your opinion when you see a black dude stab a girl to death in the bus in the States?
Oh, wow.
Or, Charlie Kirk's murder, or, this school shooting that happened yesterday in California. And that made me think twice. And I was like, man, like it's like, it sure feels like the death penalty is justified in these cases, but
we all deserve death. That would be my answer. That's all I got.
That's it.
That's it. We all deserve death. Know your heart.
Yeah, that is true. That's what Matt said yesterday in our chat. It was like, ultimately, like this is in our own hearts. Like, yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Unless you got something else.
I could ramble on more, but I have a lot of things I need to do here. I got a meeting with somebody, and
I got one more note here.
Oh wow!
You posted a Bible verse.
I
A
don't
feast
think so.
is made for laughter. Wine makes life merry, and money is the answer for everything. Ecclesiastes 10, verse 19.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you texted me that.
Yeah, late at night.
You texted me that. Gary read that at night, and he was so excited. He's like, I thought so. I just hadn't found it in Scripture yet. And then you went. And then the next day, and then you read Psalm 49 right after that, and then you're like, okay, never mind. So if you want to go read Psalm 49, but that was Solomon spouting off some wisdom. So, anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And like, comment, share, subscribe. Appreciate that. And also the live event with me and Colonel Trey Ardis is going to be happening on the last Saturday of the month, September 27th, 7 p.m. Tickets are on sale now. That'll be a super cool event. He'll be talking about lessons from his career on leadership and life. And then also we'll be doing a live Q&A with the audience. So looking forward to seeing you there. Cheers.
Have a great week.